Hey, welcome back to the Car Doctor studio. Appreciate you dropping by. Thanks for the likes and subscriptions to our channel. Today's episode of the Car Doctor is being brought to you by Chevy Brothers Fresh Roasted Coffee. Chevy Brothers, the choice of mechanics across the last frontier. Follow the Red Goat at kaladi.com. Yeah. Oh yeah! Okay, well today we have a Chevy TrailBlazer and we're going to be doing upper and lower ball joints on it. I've got the vehicle raised up on my 4-post rack and I'm going to go ahead and pop the wheel off and get cranking on this thing. Thanks for coming along for the ride. Okay, now I'm going to remove the disc brake caliper mounting bracket by removing the 2 caliper mounting bracket bolts on the back side of the knuckle. I'm also going to remove the 2 attaching bolts to the flexible brake hose bracket that secures it to the knuckle as well, so we can suspend the caliper off of the spring with the wire so that it doesn't dangle down and rip the crap out of the brake hose. Now I'm going to remove the disc brake rotor. Now I'm going to carefully remove the ABS wheel speed sensor wiring harness by disconnecting the harness connector and removing the little securing clips along the knuckle assembly in the frame. Now I'm going to disconnect the outer tie rod end by removing the outer tie rod end retaining nut on the stud and then pounding lightly on the face of the knuckle where the stud goes through. Once the tie rod has been separated, I remove the axle nut on the end of the axle shaft. Now I'm going to clean the threads on the upper ball joint retaining stud and nut to ease in removal. Now I'm going to remove the upper ball joint retaining stud and nut as well as the lower ball joint retaining nut. Now I'm going to release the lower ball joint by gently pounding on the face of the steering knuckle at the lower ball joint stud, and then I'm going to release the upper ball joint stud by pounding up on the control arm. Now I'm going to press out the lower ball joint. In order to press out the lower ball joint, you'll probably be required to have some special adapters for your ball joint press. These are available with the add-on kits that you can find for doing 4-wheel drive cars and trucks, and they'll complement most ball joint presses, whether it's OTC or a generic brand. They should work well with that. I'm using the Astro ball joint add-on kit for 4-wheel drive and truck applications, and I'll put a link to the Amazon part number for this so you can purchase it on Amazon at a relatively inexpensive cost. I'm using Moog replacement ball joints. These are quality parts. I recommend them highly if you can get those. You want to definitely go with a quality part. You don't want to go with the low-end red box stuff, or you're just going to be doing it again in another 30,000 miles and potentially wind up with an unsafe condition. So anyway, I'm going to prepare my lower ball joint to press back into the lower control arm. Now we install the replacement snap ring on the ball joint to retain it. I'm also going to install the replacement grease zerk and orient the grease zerk toward the rear of the vehicle. Okay, now I'm going to remove the upper ball joint out of the steering knuckle. The upper ball joint is actually pressed into the steering knuckle portion of this deal here, and it'll require removing the C-clip, and there's also a little bit of dirt buildup, so I'm going to knock that off with the little wire brush, and then I'm going to remove the C-clip, and then I'm going to drive this ball joint out and press in the replacement one. Okay, don't forget to install your replacement snap ring to retain the upper ball joint, and also install the grease zerk and orient that towards the rear of the vehicle if possible. Now we're all set to reinstall the control arm into the vehicle. One note, you should always replace the upper ball joint retaining stud and nut, and a quality replacement ball joint will come with that part. So go ahead and install the replacement upper ball joint retaining stud and nut and torque them properly. Then torque the lower ball joint nut to the lower end of the torque spec, and then tighten to align the cotter pin hole and install your cotter pin. Next, install your spindle nut on the end of the axle and lightly torque it and we'll finish torquing the axle nut and the wheel lug stud nuts after the tire has been installed and the vehicle is lowered to allow us to do that properly. Now I reinstall the brake rotor, and I apply a small amount of blue Loctite to the caliper mounting bracket bolts and install the caliper mounting bracket and torque properly. Now I reinstall the flexible brake hose mounting bracket to the steering knuckle. Now I'm going to route and reconnect the ABS wheel speed sensor wiring, and I'm also going to take this opportunity to grease the upper and lower ball joints with a few pumps of grease. Now I'll install and torque the outer tie rod end stud nut. Okay, now after I've double checked everything, made sure that all my hardware's on properly torqued all my bolts, I've got my cotter pin in there, I'm going to install the wheel, I'm going to lightly torque the wheel nuts, and then I'm going to lower it down so that I can properly torque the wheel nuts, torque the axle nut, and put the hubcap on. We're going to have this thing back on the road. All right, we about got this one wrapped up. I'm going to go ahead and lower it down, throw it on the 4-wheel alignment machine here, and make sure my angles are set properly. You want to do that after every major front suspension repair job. You also want to make sure you're qualified to do this kind of work. Of course, this video is for entertainment purposes only, and you want to definitely follow your factory repair information if you're going to attempt this work on your own. You want to follow those procedures step by step and use proper torquing methods outlined in those repair manuals. And also, this job, pretty straightforward. I was able to do this side in well under an hour, and that's partly due to having good tools and equipment and also good coffee. If you do have the chance to stop by Kaladi's here in Anchorage, Alaska, ask them for the Car Doctor Special. It's a 20-ounce quad shot drink, and it works good for shaving off a few minutes from your front end repair times One downside is you'll probably stay awake for a couple days, but hey, you can get caught up on car doctor videos. And I tell you what, it amps me up. It also amps me up to hear all the positive comments that you've made on my videos, and I really appreciate that. Thanks for all the support. Thanks for dropping by the Car Doctor Studios, and I wish you good luck with your repairs. Have a good one.